G'day everyone, welcome to the Poker Pulse podcast, episode 8. I'm Craig Abernethy, founder of the Australian Poker Schedule website where you can find out all the poker series coming up around Australia, as well as poker news, major results from our players at home and overseas. We have a jam-packed show for you today, the Player Probe, we've got In the Blender, we've got Truth or Bluff, our new segment, and once again we're going to do our Maiden Winners. But we also have a very special guest on the show. First of all, let's check in with my two awesome co-hosts, poker dealer, poker player, podcaster, Catherine Young. How are you, Cathy?
Hi, I've been good. Very, very good. Just finished up with the APL 600 and also had an amazing birthday from the last show. I did a aerobatics plane flight, so that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that looked awesome on your Facebook. We might put a little clip up of that.
All right, cameras rolling
That.
Yeah, it looks sick.
Very intense on the body. It was the most fun I've ever had. Like just doing barrel rolls and upside down and nose dives. It was crazy.
And were you scared at all?
Takeoff, I was. Like, it was very real on takeoff because it was an open cockpit as well. So all the wind was blowing my face. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, that's the ground. I can just see it. But then once I was up in the air, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and as you can see, we've got our resident Poker Pro live and online player streamer now as well on Troy Mclean. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good. So where are you currently playing? Or
I was meant to be going to Cambodia, but had a few things fall through. So just at Crown in Melbourne. So here for the series. Come down yesterday. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you've been streaming lately. I've been catching up on a few of your Twitch streams. Actually,
yeah,
saw
I've been
you
trying to
do a session the other night and you had 2 final tables up.
Yeah, I've been trying to do a little bit of streaming. I used to stream back in the day. So I've been trying to do it a little bit more. It's good fun.
Well, it's fun watching you get bad beat all the time on your Instagram stories. So
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Hasn't been a great year online so far.
As I said, we've got a very special guest on the show today. He's been patiently waiting in the background here. I can't wait to have a chat with him. I'm not sure if you recognise this guy, but it's the one and only King George of Bankstown, Australian TV reality show hero, villain, brains versus brawn contestant. How are you, George?
Hi, Craig. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. Yeah, you could have done a more kind of like descriptive interview there. You could have gone like author, keynote speaker, terrible poker player, wonderful TV talent.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why we've got you on the show.
I'm okay. I run really bad, everyone. Stop fucking beating me on the poker tables.
No, well, actually,
stop dealing me cool as Catherine. She did it 2 nights ago.
I really did. That was pretty brutal. 2 in a row. Oh my goodness.
Oh, really? You dealt him some bad hands, did you, Cathy?
I just have to sit there and grunt through these bloody coolers every fucking day. Anyway, I love poker. It's great for my mental health.
No, well, we love the fact that you've come on the show and the fact that you're into poker because, you know, part of our mission for the podcast is to grow the game, and obviously having someone like you in the game and with your following, you know, people get to see what poker is and it's more mainstream, and eventually people that haven't played before will come into the game. So, you know, and you're just a sort of an everyday person before the Survivor, and it just shows you can get on Survivor and do stuff. Poker's fun. They've actually got a few similarities. One of the things, the similarities with poker is if you don't make the money, we call that bubbling. And
yes,
you bubbled Survivor.
Right? Yes, I know what it's like. Yeah. When everyone's like, oh, I bubbled for a min cash. I'm like, yeah, so did I.
Yeah. Survivor's very top heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, very top heavy. Only every poker tournament was like that. Much worse head mob given the amount of times I come second and third.
No, it was good. And on the second season of Survivor, so the first one you came second, obviously, to Haley. The second season I watched you in, you got 4th, but you did actually get a prize in that. You won $60K or something, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So the second time I played with Jackie Glazier, and Australian Survivors had kind of like an interesting run with poker players. So I think the first season there was a guy that called himself a poker player who I don't think he'd ever played a game of poker in his life. I can't even remember his name. It's so irrelevant. But I think he must have said, I heard this down the grapevine from one of the producers. He said, "Oh, I used to play poker and cards as a kid." They're like, "Great, we'll call you a poker player." And then in season 4, there was a guy called Andy who had the same kind of trajectory. He just like played cards at his house, and they're like, "Right, call yourself a poker player." Jackie was the first. I wouldn't, when I kind of went through my audition process, I talked a little bit. I used to, back in the APL glory days when I was at uni, I used to play like every day and survive off little kind of like poker wins and target like top 10 leaderboard and stuff like that when it was, exciting to do as a uni student. And then I recall a lot of the kind of like people that I used to play with around the traps all became like poker pros, and my life went down a different path when I started working in politics. But I had a kind of like a little poker backstory in my first season, Brains v Brawn. And then after that first season in 2021, and once, the lockdowns and all that kind of stuff ended, I was like, I want to start kind of like ramping up my poker games. And I remember like one night in lockdown, I was on my phone and Jackie slid in my DMs. This is during my first season before it was airing. She's like, "Oh, good luck, George. I hope you do well." And then I never responded to any kind of like past Survivor players because they're always like looking for spoilers and whatnot. But I remember messaging back Jackie. I was like, "Oh, Jackie, you won't remember this, but after your World Series of Poker run, you came to Revesby Workers Club Pro Series, $110 game at 11 p.m. and there were 500 runners, and I was there and I said hello to you." And she's like, "No, I don't remember, but that's really nice." But then I became really close to Jackie, and then she was out there in Samoa with me, which we had big plans and things were going to happen that were going to make great TV and a fun game. But unfortunately, a box injured us both in very similar but slightly different ways, and we didn't get the chance to do that.
Yeah, that was a tough challenge, and I'm surprised more people didn't get injured doing that. Just looking at it,
well, it's because no one else did it after they stopped it. They all crawled under the box, but yeah.
Yeah, just with
very
that, like,
unsafe box.
I mean, watching Survivor, obviously a lot of the contestants are fit, most of them anyway, and it takes some of those challenges are really tough. So. I mean, I think I watched in the second season, you only won the one challenge. Is that right? And that was the auction one?
No, I won an endurance challenge where I won KFC. It seems to be a very high motivation.
Oh, yes, that's right. You did. You said, if you want me to win a challenge, put KFC up for the prize. Yes.
I remember this.
Do that at Final Immunity Challenge. You win KFC and immunity. But I think Survivor's not just about challenges. It's a game of kind of like, it's a game of social politics and manipulation, and poker players have every single attribute to do very well when they play Survivor, because any good poker player is someone that can assess the state of play and chart a course forward, irrespective of the cards that they're dealt or the hand that they're dealt. And if you've got the capacity to put pressure on people and gain leverage that way, to know when to let it down, basically, when there's no chance of, pushing that particular avenue forward, or to cut a deal with people, you will do really well in the game of Survivor. So I know in the next season of Australian Survivor, Brains v Brawn 2, which is premiering on the 17th of February on 10 and 10 Play, we've got a cash pro on there, AJ, and I'm very excited to see how he goes, because you can't call me a poker pro. You can call me maybe a circuit regular or a semi-pro if you want to go there. I have a not disgraceful Hendon mob, but I would never kind of call myself a poker pro. But I'm excited to see AJ as the second poker pro play Australian Survivor, because someone like him that plays high stakes cash games would have every single attribute you'd need to do really well in the game. Yeah,
we're familiar with AJ Antonius, actually, because he was on the High Stakes Heroes, and we sort of gave that a bit of a plug, and we showed that. And yeah, he is actually a serious pro, so probably the most qualified pro, certainly on Australian Survivors. So yeah, it will be interesting. And you combine your actually success too. You said you're into politics, and there's a bit of backstabbing that goes on at Survivor, obviously, and in politics. So I'm not sure if those sort of skills, the lies, we all classify politicians as liars and backstabbers and, all that sort of stuff. So I'm not saying, outside of Survivor, that's what you, but in the Survivor, you were very good. It was amazing how you kept surviving. They called you the Survivor cockroach. They just could not get rid of you. It didn't matter how you did at the challenges or how many people said they were going to vote for you at would come to it. They just kept you in. It was just unbelievable. I thought it was just amazing to watch, really. How you survived was great.
Thank you. I'm not sure if that was a statement or a question, but I welcome the positive.
I ramble on, so feel free to cut me off.
Thanks, George.
And we caught up with George at the APL 600 at Bankstown, didn't we, Cathy? And actually, we caught up with quite a few players, and we did our player probe. So I might just roll that now.
Who's someone in the world that you would want to have a heads-up match with?
Probably this guy. His name's Daniel. Is it Daniel Bembleton or something like that? He
Embo?
Yeah, Embo. That's it. Yeah, he'd be great to play heads up. I mean, just loves giving him money away for fun. So he's probably number one on the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the world? Maybe not a friend. Someone that you've just always wanted to just beat.
Oh, I'd like to play against Phil Hellmuth. I just want to
Hellmuth?
see him explode.
Okay.
I think it'd be pretty funny. Got a couple good needles for him, I reckon.
So who's someone in the world that you've always wanted to play a heads-up match with?
A heads-up match?
Anyone in the
In
world?
poker?
Yeah.
I would say Boston Rob Mariano. I got to know him a little bit at this reality TV event in Orlando. And then I got a bit jealous when he was going to the Bahamas and I was only going to Vegas. And he's got quite an impressive Hendon mob. So I'd say Boston Rob, because then we can find out who the best Survivor poker player is.
Okay. I see who's on Survivor as well.
I love that reaction. Can we please use that on the clip? Who's Boston Rob? Do you know?
No. I didn't know. I know who he is as a poker player. I didn't know he was on
Oh,
Survivor.
really?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
American
Well,
Survivor.
that's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyone in the world you've always wanted to play a heads-up match with. Doesn't have to be a poker player. Just literally anyone in the world.
It would be pretty cool to play poker with Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I think that would be pretty cool.
Maybe someone living.
Living. Okay, all right. I reckon I'd like to play heads up with Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I like that as well. That's a good one. Who is anyone in the world that you would love to play a heads-up game with? Doesn't have to be poker related. Can literally be anyone in the world you've always wanted to play.
Well, I just watched Pads win a tournament yesterday, so I guess just to be on a table with Pads, I would love that. Yeah.
Cool. Who is anyone in the world that you'd most like to have a heads-up match with?
A clone version of me, that would be fun. No,
I mean, you have created those.
yeah,
before.
could probably. There's an idea for a sketch. Let's say Craig. Why not? Yeah, Craig behind the camera.
That'd be an easy win.
The two media guys.
That'd be an easy win for you.
Well, I'd say it'd be an easy win for you, so it'd be funny to see it actually play out. Yeah. Actually, I just thought of another response for who you could play heads up against. Can it be anyone, like not just a poker player?
Yeah, anyone in the whole world.
Okay, I would like to play against Michael Jackson so I can return his glove.
Yes! Yes, please.
Okay, cool. Great.
Okay, so that was the player probe. Just want to thank all the players that took part in that down at the APL 600 Canterbury Hurlston Park. Josh Baraba, Corey Van Jay, Lynn Liu, Chris Waddy from APL, and of course, the one and only King George was there as well, as we just saw. Boston Rob, eh? You got to meet him.
I just like how after the interview, like Catherine had no idea who Boston Rob was outside of the poker world. That just absolutely gooped me.
Yeah.
It was like I knew him from poker, but then when I clicked the two together as what you were talking about, I was like, oh my god, he is a Survivor player. So now I remember.
Yeah, Boston Rob is probably the biggest kind of like reality TV contestant in US history. So he just got banished on the current season of the Traitors, but he's done Survivor like 5 or 6 times. He's had his own TV shows. He's launched Deal or No Deal Island. He was just on the Traitors. He is the king of reality TV in the United States. So the week before that, the Bahamas series happened, I was with Boston Rob at like a reality TV kind of event that we were in Orlando. In Survivor 40 Winners at War, there was a poker alliance with people like Boston Rob, Tyson Apostle, who plays poker from time to time. I think there was one other one who's skipping my mind, and I think Parvati Shallow was in that alliance as well. So it's interesting the parallels that you've had in terms of like US Survivor players that have then become kind of like poker regulars or pros, if you want to call Boston Rob that. And I think it'll be fun to play poker with Boston Rob.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
You played any?
Heads up.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you guys watched the Poker Mania podcast, Daniel Negreanu's new one with his wife Amanda, but Daniel's been talking about a reality show that you just mentioned, George, and that was Traitors. Daniel Negreanu was saying that he probably couldn't do Survivor because the food sort of situation would kill him. He's obviously vegan, and he doesn't rate himself as an athlete or athletic enough to do the challenges, which I disagree with. He's a pretty fit athlete. So Traitors is something that I reckon I've been getting into a bit lately. I love that show. So
the current US season on 10 Play has been just incredible.
How does that work? Haven't even heard of it.
It's kind of like the game Werewolf or Mafia in a TV show version, but we had it on 10 in Australia. That we had 2 seasons with probably really bad casting decisions. So
I like the
got
second
canned due to
season in
poor rating.
Australia.
But in the US, it's the biggest show aside from Survivor right now on NBC, and really the Survivor players always carry that show. And it was being carried by Boston Rob and Carolyn, who's a new era Survivor player from season 43. Not a poker player, but so like Boston Rob is quite incredible. And then when I had my little poker holiday in the US in December, I got the chance to meet people like Katie Lindsay and Trishelle, who's also like a reality TV kind of legend in the US. She's done the Traitors. I think she's done Big Brother. Don't quote me on that. I don't follow US Big Brother, but there's a big kind of like reality TV crossover between poker and TV shows in the US, and hopefully I can lead that torch here in Australia. From AJ and Jackie.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you're familiar. There was a show that came out, I think it was early last year, called Game of Gold. It was run by GG Poker, and it was sort of an attempt at a reality TV show for poker players.
Game of Gold was brilliant. Absolutely
never heard
brilliant.
of it.
Oh my god, it's a YouTube series. If you just go on YouTube, Game of Gold, it's brilliant. It's basically like they've put all these poker pros together, but they like form teams and like they play like all these side games. They even played Indian poker. And it was just like it was so good. It was just there's lots of drama. It was so much fun to watch.
Great. If it's not copyrighted and it's a hit, I will sell it to a production company here in Australia.
Yeah. Do that. You'd actually be really good. Obviously, having all that sort of knowledge of the production. It's just like Survivor's just a massive production. So
I'll call my producer friends. I've got a great hit for you.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite, reality TV show, but it was very well done. I think it was filmed in Korea. But yeah, you obviously get to meet a lot of cool people. You've got a lot of opportunities. You've got a book, all that sort of stuff. What do you reckon? I was thinking, George, you reckon Cathy would be a good Survivor contestant?
I don't think Cathy would go first. I think it just, I think,
Thanks.
Yeah, you've got the chance to go deep, unless you're screaming and hollering too much early in camp and your tribe loses the first challenge. And it's like we've all heard Cathy play poker from time to time. If you've seen at her a game, hold.
I could hear her down in Victoria.
Yeah, you certainly know if Cathy's playing, but I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be fit, and Cathy's always posting photos of herself up at the gym, and I reckon she'd go all right in Survivor. So
I couldn't deal with the food. Honest to God, how did you survive it? Like, I want to know about this side of things. Like, because to me, I get hangry here when I've got access to a fridge. Like, how did you go about all like the actual survival side of things? How did you go about the no food?
it's all pretend,
sleeping
Cathy.
on
They
the
actually have
floor?
like a full buffet after every night after the show. So
No, George, tell me about it. Like, what was it like sleeping on a floor for like all that time?
Well, I've experienced two very different locations. The first time was in the Australian Outback near Mount Isa, in the middle of nowhere. So the Outback was like horrific because it got to like close to freezing at night, and it was like close to 50 during the day. We had kind of like a lot less food in the Outback as well. There was no coconuts on the ground and whatnot. So the Outback was particularly tough. It's a little bit different in Samoa. In Samoa, you're dealing more with kind of like torrential rain. You're constantly humid and wet and sticky, but you do have like a 5-star beach style resort in front of you where you are just sleeping on the sand. So it's not bad sleeping on the sand. You kind of get used to it. But that's the key about Survivor. It's a game of mental endurance, and you've got to constantly be on your game. And I think if you've got the ability to grind through like 13, 14-hour heats, day ones and day twos in poker tournaments when you're tired and when you're hungry and when you're mentally exhausted, you've got what it takes to play Survivor, because the better players are the ones that rise through when people are struggling with their emotions or they let their guard down and they get complacent. And, that's the difference between a good and a bad Survivor player.
Interesting.
I think very similar to poker, yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, George actually joined a girl band when he was on the island as well. He joined the Spice Girls Alliance, and yeah, as I said, they called you the cockroach. Couldn't get rid of you. So, is there any friends you've sort of really stayed close with after Survivor? Obviously, Haley beat you, but you did make that friendship, as I said, as part of the Spice Girls. Are they still friends with you, or?
I think you form really close bonds when you're out there, particularly the people that you go deep with. And I always tell people the ones that you work with and that you go deep with, they're the ones that you're close to after the game. That's my advice when I, talk to new players or past players and whatnot. So, some of the closest friends I still have are some of the people that I've played Survivor with. People like Cara, people like Jerry, people like Haley. I went to a wedding and she only invited 2 people, myself and Simon. You stay at these people's houses like you know them. It's hard to kind of explain, but it's like, like a day or 2 in the game is like months of getting to know someone in the real world. And when you go through kind of like the trials and tribulations and the stress and the pressure of what Survivor does to you and things, you forge kind of like bonds and relationships in the game. They're very, very tight and very, very close. And that's why Survivor is so fantastic to watch for an audience member, because when like moves happen, particularly in the middle and the end of the game, and there's, an alliance member gets cut or there's a big player gets blindsided or whatnot, it is emotional, for the audience member that's watching and the people in the game. I remember when, I voted off Sneaky Stevie, the only person that I really kind of torched, because he wasn't coming for me or anything. But it's a deal I had to cut with Shonny and Liz, and to kind of navigate a very difficult merge that was coming for me in season 8, Heroes v Villains. I remember like when Stevie was hearing these votes come out, he was just devastated. He was just like heartbroken. And then like it was like the slowest walk ever down that path. And, he was kind of like almost was tearing up, and it was just heartbreaking, And then he left.
Yeah.
And you move on. The next hand gets dealt.
Yeah. Yeah, they couldn't get rid of you. You were just kept hanging around. You know, I kept thinking, like, watching a geez, he's got to go tonight. Surely, I think George is gone. And everyone's, you know, about to vote for you, and you'd be sitting there at the tribal, and you'd just completely spin it, and then you'd get 0 votes. It was just, I don't know, it was just incredible. Just the things that you said during that tribal. I don't know if people changed their mind. I think they just changed their mind just based on what you said. It was just. Yeah, it's just incredible. I just admire the skills. You know, obviously we enjoy watching poker players, you know, professionals play their craft and whatever. But if anyone's going on Survivor, then, you know, watching you in that season, I reckon was a pretty good coaching lesson to watch it if you're considering winning it. So,
and that's a very good point, Craig. And what I think when it comes to Survivor, the greatest similarity with poker is this: like in poker, you can play aggressively, or you could play defensively, or you can play pragmatically. And this is how I kind of like frame it up in camps in my 3 minds. And it's very similar in Survivor as well, where if you play aggressively and you lead, you're the one that kind of sets the tone and the agenda. You're the one that's putting pressure on people to act in a certain way. And then you kind of like force the action and try to make it benefit yourself. If you play defensively, I would kind of call that a case of where you're not kind of directing the playing, but you're kind of safe in a block of numbers. And then there's playing pragmatically. And that's a case of trying to work out the probability of person X, person Y, or person Z doing and voting a certain way. And I think that was where I particularly excelled, where if I didn't have the strong hand dealt to me, where I knew there was a 30 to 50% chance of what I wanted to happen was going to happen, I made sure that I maneuvered the pieces and applied the pressure so it went in that direction. And when I told myself my outs were getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, I rapidly course corrected. And that is why I'm known as one of the greatest Survivor players ever. If only I could always run like that when I'm playing poker. Unfortunately, I get dealt coolers by dealers like Catherine. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah. No, look, I reckon the Survivor skills that you've got are combined with poker. If you spend a bit of time with someone talking poker strategy as well, and I reckon they'd improve their poker just based on chatting with you.
My number one lesson I've learned over the past 6 months is stop losing to Chinese gamblers. Stop getting too outed by a Chinese man.
Yeah,
Very true.
They love their poker, the Chinese.
They love two outing me on the river.
I think everyone loves two outing someone on the river.
Oh yeah, those the best.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of poker. Literally anyone can win. Unlike Survivor, I don't think anyone can win that. I certainly couldn't win Survivor.
Gamble.
I'd be drawing dead at Survivor. We'll see how AJ goes. So with that, we have this special segment that I have on the podcast here. We call it In the Blender. But since we've got you on the show, George, I wanted to do a Survivor version of In the Blender.
Let's go.
So normally what we do is we have a buzzer and just a trivia thing. You buzz in, you accumulate points. This version of Survivor In the Blender, you start with 2 lives. And you get 1 immunity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the topic of the question. And you can, at that point, after you've read the topic, you can say, well, I've got no idea about that. I want to use my immunity. If you don't use your immunity, you have to have a go at the question. If you get it wrong, you lose a life. All right. Now, you can't use the same answer as anyone else. Oh. So if you buzz in first, you lock in the answer, then Cathy can't use that answer. Okay. So there's multiple answers for every question.
Okay.
So the first question is, the topic is the Spice Girls. Remember, you've all got an immunity. You can use it, or if you don't use it, you have to answer a question. So the topic is the Spice Girls. No? Troy, 2.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna use my immunity.
You're using it straight up? Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
All I know are their names. That's it. So no thanks. I'm out.
Okay. Well, that's funny because the question is, give me the full name of one of the Spice Girls.
Buzz?
Sorry. Yes.
Jerry Halliwell?
Perfect. Yep. George has got his through. What about you, Troy?
Okay, great.
The full name, the real name of a Spice Girl.
Beckham's. What's her first name? Last name Beckham.
Yeah. What's her first name? Might be where you live.
Veronica.
What
Beckham?
state do you live? Oh no, too late. Victoria.
Oh, said Veronica. He's out.
Victoria. That's where you live, Troy.
That's it. Yeah, Victoria Beckham.
That's hilarious. Wow. You're taking the lead here, George, like the Survivor expert as we'd expected.
Wow,
life,
that's
right?
great because I know nothing about the Spice Girls. I named the alliance that to make Shawnee work with me.
Wow, I did actually 7 questions for this, so we mightn't get there. We might only need 2. So Cathy's used one of her immunities, so she has to answer this one. Troy's lost 1 life, and George is sitting pretty here. So, okay. The next topic is the Australian all-time money list.
Troy?
Oh, you're going to use your immunity here, are you, Troy?
No, I don't want to use an immunity. I know.
Does anyone want to use your immunity? No, Cathy can't. No. All right, so you're going to have a crack. Okay, so just name someone in the top 5 on the Australian all-time money list.
Adamo?
So?
Michael Adamo.
Michael Adamo, yep. George or Cathy? Can you name someone, anyone in the top 5?
Cale Burns?
Yes, very good. George is good at this.
I'm glad I watched High Stakes Poker.
Literally
I'm gonna say him.
Top 5 Australian all-time money list.
I had Cale Burns. Thanks, George. It would have to be a loss of life here because
someone.
You know, can't think of probably the most famous Australian.
Oh no! Wait, Joe Hashem's in it. Joe Hashim.
I don't know if we can give you that.
I was actually.
Yeah, Joe Hashim is not. Yes, Joe Hashim is number.
Malcolm Trainer, but I know he's not in there. But like, that's the only other name I know.
Is he really there from that WSOP and a few
Yeah.
others?
Yeah, he won like $8 million or something.
Yeah, he won. Yeah, that was about $8 million US. Yeah, yeah. So he's in the top 5. So that's good. So where are we at? George is sitting pretty. Troy's sitting all right here. You know, he's got one life left. So the next question is, the topic is Scandinavia.
Uh-huh.
I don't know anything about Scandinavia.
Oh, you're using an immunity? You're using your immunity, Troy? All right. George, you want to use your immunity? You happy to go with it?
Let's go for it.
Yep, okay. So name a country in Scandinavia.
Norway.
Correct. George can't say Norway. There's 4 others I think you could use.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to name them all?
No. Well, you can if you want. If you want to show off.
Flags.
Sweden, Iceland, and Denmark.
Perfect. Yeah, see, you know. Maybe I should give him... No, I won't give you any more points, but no, very good. George has travelled around the world. You've used your immunity now, Troy. Cathy's used her. George has still got one up his sleeve, and he's still got 2 lives. And you guys have got 1 each, don't you? Next question. Australia at the FIFA World Cup.
I'm so losing a life here. This is it for me.
What about it? Yeah.
Name a player that scored a goal for Australia at the World Cup.
Harry Cahill.
Harry Cahill.
Okay, he's out.
I can't think I can give you that one. It'll be hard. I can't give you that one. What about you, George? Can you know one?
Wait, what do you mean?
Tim Cahill, yeah.
Oh, Tim. Yeah, fuck. I was thinking of Harry Kuehl and Tim Cahill.
You gave us the combination. His mutated brother. All right, so you lose a life, Troy.
Harry Cahill.
Yeah, so Troy's gone. Yeah. No.
All right, your turn. Your turn, Catherine.
Life because the only soccer player that I know in all of Australia is Sam Kerr, so I lose a life. I don't even know any players. Sorry.
You didn't say men's World Cup.
No, I didn't. So technically,
right?
yeah, I guess technically, yeah, we'll give you that, Cathy. Yeah, very good, very good. I didn't specify the men, so you know, just any. She's a World Cup Australian's goal scorer for sure. Next topic is food. Very broad subject. Let's just roll with it. Name one of the 5 food groups.
Dairy.
Fat.
Yes, both good. Okay, cool. All right, okay. This one might sort you out. Name a country that shares a border with Greece.
Croatia?
Macedonia.
I think. Would you say Croatia, Cathy?
Yeah.
Okay, you're out. You lose your out. So we're going to give the win to George, I think. Is that right? Or...
Jeez, that was easy.
That was easy, George.
What do I win?
You're too good.
$500,000?
The idol.
Troy will bring you back next time he goes to Asia 500,000 dong. How about that?
What's that? Like $10?
Yeah. We'll buy you a beer or a drink or what's your favourite drink, George? Maybe we can chat with KFC.
Coconut tequila.
Coconut.
Please
yeah,
don't.
coconut
I'm trying
for
to lose
sure.
weight.
All right. Well, that was a fun segment. Well done, George, winning that. Speaking of winners, I want to go through some maiden winners that we saw over the last month. Someone that's never won a trophy in Australian poker. I'd like to give them a shout out. The first one is from the APL 600, the Shot Clock Terminator champion, Shakir Safiri. That was a $200 buy-in, and he took out 12K, his first ever trophy. So congratulations to him. The next one was a big one. The APL 600 main event. You were there, George. You probably played it. That was 250K guarantee. They absolutely smashed that. They ended up getting up to over 750K guarantee. They ended up doing a ICM deal because it was very top heavy, but it was Andy, they call him, Benia. I believe he took out the win there, $125,955, and that was his first trophy. Can you believe that? That's a pretty cool first trophy.
Must be nice.
Yeah. Someone who's not actually a maiden winner in life, but he's a maiden winner at the Brisbane Star new casino because that was their first series there. Michelle Anunu. I mean, I think it's got to give him a shout out, haven't we, Troy? Like, how good is this bloke? How does he do it? He's an absolute beast. He won 4 tournaments last year. Well, he won 6 tournaments last year, 4 trophies, including the Jack Star and the WPT opening event. And then he takes out the very first main event at the Brisbane Star just over the weekend. So incredible performance. Tough field, 68K for him. So congratulations to him.
So I released our new segment. It was called Truth or Bluff, and we had some really amazing entries. So basically the whole premise is that we had a video sent in by a couple of people, and in the video, it would be 1 truth and 1 bluff, and they would tell us a story, and then we're going to have to all decide. So we got Shelly's video ready for you guys to watch, and we're going to put that up right now.
I don't understand. You got it?
I think I have you. Yeah.
You think you had me?
Story number 1 is back home in the UK. I was on Deal or No Deal, and I was down to the last 2 boxes, £1,000 and £15,000. I said no deal, and I ended up with £1. Story number 2 is when I was younger, I was a singer, and I actually sang opera. I sang in Les Miserables at the Royal London Albert Hall.
Shelly?
All right, guys, who do you think, well, which one do you think is the truth and which one do you think is a complete bluff?
Oh.
Who wants to go first?
The bluff is Shelly's lack of lighting in that video.
Shelley,
Shelly.
Actually, I might just say Shelly is the APT ambassador, and she's also the owner of Variance Apparel. So check her out. You can find Variance Poker on Facebook. You can find Shelly on Instagram, Shelly Pooley. We'll put her link up there as well. So what do you reckon, George? You reckon it's a bluff or a truth?
I don't think... Oh, no, you go first, Catherine.
All I was going to say is I know Shelly can sing, but that's about all I know. Like, I know she can sing, so the second one kind of... But what were you going to say, George?
I don't think they have Deal or No Deal in the United Kingdom, so I think the first one's a lie.
Well, from watching the video, she said she had £1,000, £1,000 and £15,000, and then she said she ended up winning $1.
But she said no to the deal, so she was offered a deal.
Yeah, but the 2 cases she had were 1,000 and 15,000, and then she said she won $1. so,
Oh.
so that has to be the bluff, and then she must have actually done the singing, right?
That would be cool.
So you're going singers of truth and the dealers of bluff. How about you, Cathy? You agree?
Yeah.
You're in agreement?
I mean, now that I've heard that, yeah. But I thought that the story was like, so she got offered a deal, and it was either take 1,000 or she could have $1 or 15,000. She said no to the $1,000 deal, and then she could have either had 15,000 or $1, and she got the $1. But no, that's not how you took the story.
Well,
What do you reckon, George? You're saying the deal's the bluff.
I just don't think they have Deal or No Deal in the UK.
Perfect. Yep. All right.
Okay,
Cool.
singing.
We'll
I know
go with
she's
that.
a singer. I know she can sing. So we'll go with the singing. What's the truth?
Yes, you are all right. You are all right. You are all right. She was she is a good singer.
Wow.
Yeah. She hasn't been on Deal or No Deal, but that is one of her lifetime dreams to go on Deal or No Deal. So she'd love to do that. Hopefully she gets the chance to do that. That would be fun.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've got to say that she did actually bluff
If you
me
want to
because
watch me
I went
on
for the
Deal or
reverse
No
bluff.
Deal, you can go to If you want to watch me on Deal or No Deal, go to www.10play.com.au.
That was a really good episode, by the way, George, with Sky. I love that. That was really good. You were great on it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I have my own episode coming out soon. Cal.
Really?
And you can
Oh,
watch that on 10 and
okay.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm going to start to wrap up the show, but I've got to give a massive shout out to George to thank him for coming on. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and obviously thanks for being part of poker. You can find George on @King George of Bankstown on Instagram, and from there you can find the links to all sorts of stuff that he does and photos and everything he shares with all his followers. So make sure you check him out on Instagram. As far as upcoming series, there's plenty going on in Australia. You can check out AustralianPokerSchedule.com on the timeline for that. One that I did want to give a special shout out to was the Australian Poker Open, because I'll be there and I'm running the 2K Fantasy once again. So basically with that, owners can purchase a team. That gives them the opportunity to turn up to a live player draft on the 16th of April, and then you bid for your team. So a player can only be on one team. The highest bidder gets that player, and the object of it is to have the team with the most points. Players that run deep and win tournaments obviously get the most points. That will be really fun. The auction, the banter, the teams, everyone will get patches. They can submit a team with their name and we get a logo, and I create some artwork and some patches for everyone to wear. So that's going to be at the Australian Poker Open, which runs from the 14th of April through the 27th of April. It's a 4 million guaranteed series. It's Western Sydney's, George, so it's in your sort of ballpark, and Cathy. But yeah, I'll be there, and I'm sure Troy, as a professional, loves his live poker, will be there as well. So yeah, just wanted to give that a shout out. Get in contact with the Australian Poker Schedule if you would like to be involved in the 2K Fantasy. Also, just a reminder, make sure you like and share this video. You can find us on YouTube, on Spotify, on Amazon Music, also on Apple Podcasts. You can share any feedback you like, comment on the video, let us know. You can find Cathy, the official Cathy, on Instagram, and Troy is 5Bet Bluff. You can find me on Oz Poker Schedule on Instagram, Facebook. Shoot me an email. We love hearing from you. And other than that, thanks again, everyone. I want to wrap it up there. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You,
I really appreciate it, George. You're a legend. Legend, absolute legend. See you, mate.
All right, have a good one.
See you, mate. Bye.